This poem is his epitaph of the now late and great departed, an unsung Australian hero who died the day he farted. To save a little town called Liverpool, no braver man I've met. R.I.P. Big Ronnie MuckBURGER, to you, lest we forget. 'Twas back in the drought of 57, no rain for umpteen weeks. There were dead sheep in the billabongs and bull dust in the creeks. And Liverpool was as hard and dry as a stale-year-old crust, so hot and dry your pea turned to steam before it hit the dust. And every Sunday, as sure as eggs, the religious and devout would pray to God Almighty to save their little town from drought. Now, God helps those who help themselves, a fact that is very well known. So the townsfolk built this little dam in the hills not far from town. They could open up the sluice gate by winding on this crank, and down would flow the waters to fill their bone-dry tanks. But an old draught horse had died, was blocking the sluice gate of the dam. Do you think they could shift it? No way! The flamin' thing was jammed. 50 men with crowbars slaved 50 days and nights, by day under the blazing sun, and the dark by candlelight. They blasted it with gelignite. They couldn't get it loose. And even Murphy's bullock teams weren't no flamin' use. "There's only one hope left for us," said Clancy's brother Blue. "We'd better call MuckBURGER in and see what he can do." He'd often boasted that passing wind was a scientific art, and that he'd harnessed Mother Nature and could detonate his farts. So the cry went up, "MuckBURGER, MuckBURGER," and excitement swept the ground. Big Ronnie was really confident he could blow the sluice gate down. He rode 2 horses to the dam, half a bum on each, a bum so big a man could drive a train clean between his cheeks. And MuckBURGER was a quiet man, and the words he spoke were few. I'll need some food and drink for this. See what yous can do." And so they did, at his request, laid down this massive spread. There were 50 tons of onions and loads of garlic bread, baked beans by the bushels, lentils, sprouts and peas, dried prunes by the truckloads, and gorgonzola cheese. Down he sat, with knife and fork, and calmly knocked it back, then washed it down with 50 kegs of beer in 30 minutes flat. From deep within his bowels you could hear this rumbling sound, spreading fear into the hearts of all who stood around. The cry went up, "Evacuate before MuckBURGER farts!" And a wild stampede commenced at once of horse and bullock carts. For every living creature that could walk or flap or slide, by instinct took off 50 mile towards the windward side. As MuckBURGER held on to this fart, he let it stew and brew. He held on to this massive fart until his face went blue, and then at last he farted. And like the great Krakatoa blast, he blew that dam to smithereens, so powerful was the fart. A fart that shook the heavens and down to the bowels of hell. The devil cried, "My God, you fools! You've rung the doomsday bell!" It shook the ground at Maralinga, where a team of war-mad Poms had conned Sir Robert Menzies they could build an atom bomb. So far, 9 were tried, and all were duds or fizzes. Number 10 was due today. Dear God, oh, make this a winner. They were all down in their trenches with backs turned towards the blast. They pressed the detonator button precisely as MuckBURGER did his fart. They turned their eyes to heaven. A huge mushroom cloud was seen, but the air and sky around them turned a most pungent shade of green. All the lurking Yank and Russian spies denounced those smelly poms. That's got to be, they all decreed, the ultimate dirty bomb. For in the samples that they collected, when it rained and broke the drought, the scientists to a man all decreed, yes, indeed, that is very dirty fallout. And so, posthumously, the townsfolk, a hero of Big Ronnie made, for by his death he gave birth to what's called the fart food trade. For they built this mighty monument in the town of Legapool, where Big Ronnie's memory would linger on, and so too would his smell. For Rinaldi, MacDonaldi, an Italian clown who ran a diner in the old outback, whipped up a perfect miniature replica, called it the MuckBURGER Fart Food Pack. Served up in a crystal palace where tourists and kids all flock to eat what could be dried up prunes and cheese or leather cooked as meat. They drive in where they see that famous emblem that symbolises Big Ronnie's massive bum. They arrive all flat and windless and go out farting like a bomb. And as they drive off down the highway, long will they remember the way their guts exploded whilst digesting their big MuckBURGER. And in the city of Adelaide, they proudly celebrate this art, and every second year they hold a festival of farts.